Welcome back to another of our Shed a Little Light series. And I am so happy to have a guest speaker today, which is Katie Tolin. Katie and I have known each other for years. So Katie, why don't you tell a little bit about your business?
So I'm a growth consultant with CPA Growth Guides, and I help primarily CPA firms figure out the right strategy for them. People get hung up on tactics and they don't focus on the strategy, and I really connect the dots between strategy and tactics to make sure they're doing the things that are going to have the biggest return.
And strategy coupled with the powerful tactics are what everybody's really searching for right now.
Absolutely.
Based on this past year. So we spend a lot of time talking about the professions and what we can do to really enhance what goes on with professional service organizations. So the things that we're talking about most recently has been a lot around the client experience. And today we're going to center our conversation really around that. I think you heard a quote this morning that what was really interesting. Maybe we'll share with our audience.
Yeah, so it was really amazing because what this person said was being a trusted advisor is now a given. It's no longer a competitive differentiator. It's nothing to strive for. When somebody hires a professional, they assume you're that trusted advisor. So what is it that you do above that?
So today, really, and going forward, is focusing on helping our professionals go beyond the trusted advisor approach, right?
Yeah, I think it's about being proactive. And I think people struggle with what that is. And I had worked with a CFO before, and this is his story. I'm flat out stealing it. But he used to talk about being a kid and riding in his parents' station wagon. Remember, with the wood panels on the side, and you were in that back seat and you're actually like looking backward. And he's like, that's the role of an accountant. They're always in that seat looking backwards. He goes, what you need to do is be in the front seat. And I think that's where this is going. Like, I think people want somebody who's going to be in that front seat, in that passenger seat next to them, looking forward, helping them see that next curve, and just really guiding and navigating them along the way.
They need a co-pilot.
They do.
They need a navigator. So when we talk about the accountants and the lawyers that we oftentimes have the privilege of working with, so often it is about compliance. Mm-hmm. And so often it is about making sure that we are reporting about news that has happened in the past. And there's been a lot of work that we both have tried to do in the area of advisory services, right? Mm-hmm. So let's talk a minute about advisory services. You and I both recognize the value of that for business. Business owners, business leaders, executives, who they value the most are those people that can sit side by side with them in that co-pilot, in the station wagon in the front, right? And help them make sure that they are making the right decisions. They're asking the questions about cyber. They're asking the questions about employment-related matters. How do you see the advisory services and being that advisor changing, given what we've just been through in the last 15 months?
I think people who were afraid they couldn't be advisors recognized this past year that they could. Their clients called with questions and they answered. They researched. They found quick answers. They were able to guide them with the best knowledge that they have. So I think the positive side is, first of all, I think many of us have it in ourselves to be that kind of person. But growth is not going to come from that compliance. So look at the changes in technology, AI, blockchain, all of that cool stuff out there that's going to automate a lot of the tasks. And the whole thing is that's not to replace somebody as a job. It's to give you time back. And if you just want to go home early, more power to you. But I suggest you actually use that found time to have those deeper level conversations with your clients to understand what that pain is. And there's going to be those advisory services like, we can do a cyber risk assessment, something that's very, very clear and defined. But so much advisory is just that informal conversation, that advice, the thing that we can't necessarily package and put a bow on, but it's very valuable to our clients' success.
So we've talked a lot about meetings and how the professionals are very matter-centered, right? So they'd love to talk about the matter or the issue or the project and how we have to help them with exploring and natural curiosity. Curiosity being one of the client experience new upskills that we really have to work on. How do you see that in the professions with the accountants? How do you help them who are very compliance-driven, who are very analytical, right? We recruit them like that because that's been their gift. How do we help them gain that business curiosity? What have you seen? And then I'll share some of the things that we've talked about.
I think it's it's in all of us. I think you've got to be able to bring it out and get people thinking that way. You know, we like to think in check boxes. Let me get this done and let me move on. And it's so much more than that. And so there is a shift in mindset. But I think the biggest thing is people need to understand how to ask questions. Right. And, you know, the question is not, you know, do you need this, yes or no? You know, how do you ask those deeper questions? You know, I'll be talking to a client, we'll, you know, be going through a conversation and I'll be like, well, just call them and ask and I'll say something. And somebody just said to me not too long ago, they're like, Katie, that rolls off the tongue for you like nothing. Like, repeat that. I'm trying to write down what you said because I could never come up with that. And I don't believe that's true. I think if we can coach them and guide them and teach them how to ask questions based on what they hear and what the next question should be, I think we can definitely make a difference.
So listening is a really important piece, and so many of the professions spend time listening for responding, right? So this is that whole idea of active listening being another one of those client experience, those attributes that are really important. I think the other piece is, you know, when we think about curiosity, I think about courageousness, because so many of the professionals, they are expert at their knowledge base, right? And they're asking about questions they don't have domain expertise in. So how do we help them see that it's a safe place to go ahead and ask that? Because they don't have to have the answer. The answer is the question, really. It's the ability to have the courage to and open it up to the person that you're working with and just say, so what do you think about this, or what's going on? And just listen for those little cues to bring some of your colleagues in.
Well, I think what's hard is people are afraid to say something for that fear of looking dumb or for not having the answer. And it's okay to tell somebody, I don't know the answer for that, but let me go find it and get back to you. But that's a very uncomfortable thing for people to say. I really think that, you know, you need to focus on the client and their needs first and foremost. I was recently having a conversation with a legal marketer at that on the concept of client opportunity planning, where you talk about a key client, you come together internally, you bring in all of those key experts, and you talk about what they're trying to do, what they're trying to accomplish, and come up with ideas. I think people in that internal setting aren't afraid of dumb ideas. They'll throw anything out there. Well, if you have to do that first so that you have the ideas in your mind to then go externally and have that same conversation with your client so that you have confidence in what you're saying, I think that's a really smart tactic to employ.
And that client advancement meeting, that is really something that we do a lot of work with our clients on, is trying to help them see that, harness the talents, harness the minds, harness the questioning internally. Figure out what it is that what you're missing. And then it doesn't always have to be the same person that's asking the question. In fact, it's more powerful if a member of your client team actually does, and it gives them the ability to have a voice with a client that's maybe different.
It is, and then you just plan.
Right.
Before you go into one of those meetings, you know that you're bringing Joe for this reason and Sally for this reason. And I'm a big believer that if you're going to bring somebody to a meeting, they have to have a role. Right. So, you know, they know in advance, hey, I'm going to plant this seed. I'm going to bring up this topic. I'm going to open the door for you to talk about all those cool ideas we discussed last week.
And it's orchestration.
It is.
Right? And that's the piece that we see too many times, and it's something that we talk a lot about too, is the prep work happens in the car, or it happens a few minutes before the meeting, and really the prep work has to really happen in advance, because that's when the most powerful conversations happen. People love to talk about themselves. Business leaders love to share their stories, and they love to share, and they're willing to share their fears with people that they trust and they know can be strategic about their thinking. So I think the other piece of this is, as we're thinking about people that we recruit, right, into these firms, right? So this is an area that we're really going to start more exploration about.
Many years ago when I was in a firm in-house as the marketer, we decided we weren't going to hire anybody who couldn't communicate. And I will tell you, over time, you saw the difference that made in the organization. And I think this is what all firms should be looking at today, is what is that minimal that we're going to need from somebody in the future? And I think it does come back to communication skills. The other piece of this that we talk about every once in a while, but it's never really taken hold, is your EQ. Right. What's that? Emotional intelligence. Like, some people are just so good at it. You know, I have a nephew who calls me every year and wishes me happy 29th birthday because his EQ is through the roof. He knows that's what I need, right? But, you know, so for him, like, I think, you know, somebody that has a high EQ that's going to relate to those clients and be able to have those conversations, I think that's incredibly important to look for as well. And I have a firm that I'm working with that they're trying to find people for one of their specialty services. And he's like, you know what, I'm actually finding people better with a liberal arts degree and a non-accounting major for this accounting role because of their ability to think bigger picture. I don't know if I'd say that far, but I think what he was getting to is they have a mindset to see outside of their little area of expertise. And I think that's going to be very, very important in the future of our professions.
And I think there's more and more being written about this topic. I think the other piece that you mentioned as far as the EQ, empathy, high on empathy today, because not only the complexities of the workplace that all of us are working through, but it is also the uncertainty. And helping an organization and a leader kind of tap into the fact that you are empathetic to what their journey is, I think that creates such an amazing bonding and building of a relationship. And I think those are some of the things that when clients see these intangible, because we do a lot of client interviews, and clients will ask them the final question being, so how would you describe the relationship that you have? And so much of it is not anything to do with compliance or projects or budget or any of that. It has everything to do with how you made me feel. Mm-hmm. And that's the essence of the experience. So with that, I think we'll continue our conversations in the future.
Absolutely.
Katie, thank you so much for being here with us today on Shed a Little Light, and we look forward to seeing you at a future session.
Thanks for having me.
Have a great day.
Thanks.
Please check in and hope you subscribe to Shed a Little Light, and we look forward to seeing you at our next session. Have a great day.